Welcome back to the Book of Vinzer Flinn, everyone. It's another winter wonderland outside as I record this. Not that I need to go anywhere. Not that I have gone anywhere except the Flynn Haven Network for the last 2 years, and I'm just fine with that. Today we're going to finish talking about the Book of Fett, and a big thanks to the crew for coming out each week and contributing their opinions and ideas and giving me such big laughs every week. I sort of love these guys. There is a Mandalorian quote we use often, Elite or Shia Taldeen, family is more than blood, and the Flynns prove it in spades. So we've still got plenty on the horizon to geek out over and discuss. Kenobi and Picard, Strange New Worlds are coming, and the list goes on. I'm happy to say recently my mental health is doing pretty good. One surefire way to fight the depression is to fire up the old creative powers, and my favorite way to do that is to think up a new project or figure out a way to revive an old one. So to that end, I am writing a reboot of a comic about Clan Flynn, which will let me introduce more of the current roster of Flynns instead of trying to keep up with a storyline about the ones I haven't seen in 10 plus years. The way our Star Wars D&D campaign has created stories for us I don't think I'll ever want for material. Okay, speaking of which, let's head down to the crew lounge and see some of the stars of said future comic. We're going to talk about the Book of Boba Fett finale. What the fuck did I write here? Grogu in X-Men. What?
Wing. I think you meant to write wing.
X-Wing. Right, okay, that makes sense. I was like, Grogu in X-Men? What the fuck was I smoking?
You did make a joke about Magneto.
Well, and you know what? I could probably figure out what I was smoking at the time.
Hey.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. Like, someone on Reddit, of course, said, Luke, he said, where are you going, kid? Tatooine? Oh, I'm not going back there. I'll send you one day fucking overnight with the droid. Like, they put him in a box.
We'll tag on him for like Paddington Bear. Like a little, please take care of this Grogu.
I mean, he couldn't have been sent to a safer person, though. I mean, Auntie Pelly.
Yes.
That's totally his auntie now. I have to admit, she's grown on me. Like, I mean, she's still a little annoying, but she's endearing, I guess.
He reminds me of the character in Discovery. She's not so much now.
Tilly.
Yes. But it's the little bit of over the topness a little bit.
Speaking of which, did you guys happen to catch the photo shoot magazine covers the cast of Star Trek Discovery has done lately? It's to promote, like non-binary relationships and stuff like that. Mary Wiseman Tilly, she looks fucking fantastic, and they're all tweeting it at each other on Twitter, and they're all just like, "Damn, girl!" But they all look fantastic. They all look really good.
Yeah.
The guy, I think his name's Wilson Cruz, who plays the Dr. Culper. Culper? I think it's Culber. But anyway, Gates McFadden, he posts a shot of him. It's like a couple years ago, and he's got like fucking abs you could, wash the clothes on. And Dr. Crusher's like, damn, Dr. Crusher couldn't have made abs that good. Damn, boy. It's funny.
Looking now. Let's see. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, those are some abs.
Sure, right? You cut yourself on them. And I'm saying this as a very straight, middle-aged white man. I'm like, damn.
You were saying, though, about meeting Dr. Crusher.
Yeah, she was going down the artist alley and like the authors section. Yeah, she walked up to me and she's just like, "Oh, so whose booth is this?" And I turned around and I'm like, wow, that was not who I was expecting to look at when I turned around.
That happened to me at Montreal Comic Con in 2012, and Brent Spiner was there, and it was nearing the last day, and Halcon had a table there, and his assistant was trying to keep up with him as Brent ran the fuck around super speed, checking out all these different... Somebody I knew was working the Halcon table, and Brent Spiner went up and grabbed the Halcon thing and went, cool, and then he just ran. I was like, I think Data just buzzed me.
I cannot wait until I can volunteer again.
Oh, they would be very excited to have you back.
I loved it. Like, it's the only way I know how to experience a con. Like, I can't... It's my ideal way to experience a con is literally to just be somebody's, like, personal assistant for the weekend, because a lot of the times the people that go there are super chill and they, like, you can barely keep track of them. Looking at you, Fat Apollo. The return of the fan service.
There was a lot. Like, there was very much me going, called it, told you that's going to happen, called it with Matt.
It's like all of our favorite things, but we didn't actually think any of it was going to happen.
Yeah. The only I was disappointed that the Tusken Raider Amazon woman did not. So I hope they didn't kill her. I mean, nobody's dead if you don't see the body, right?
Right.
It's like you could just be saving it. I just don't know why they would save her. I kind of wanted her to ride to the rescue a little bit. It's cool, it's cool, Grogu and stuff, but
So, the return of the fan service.
the return of the return. It was good. I get they gotta I get it. I get it. I do. I get it. I get that they need to. Boba Fett was for the fans anyway. Like honestly, it really was because Boba Fett is a fan character. I mean, they had no intention of him being a character like to this level.
The whole Cad Bane thing where they like death scene question mark asterisk whatever. It was kind of like anticlimactic to me because as a person who hasn't seen any of that backstory because he really like the show is about like the diehard fans. I was kind of like, all right, and like it didn't have the same punch that it did for
no one has
everybody
really
else.
seen the Cad Bane backstory. That's the thing. Apparently, the biggest part of that backstory was cut.
Yeah, it was extra footage, and it would explain how Boba got the dent in his helmet, which I still hate because it's Beskar.
But like you guys knew who he was. That would have meant nothing to me.
Yes. So we're kind of jumping around, but whatever. So I feel like they could have used him as a villain in a better manner. Like to Raina's point, right? Like if you didn't watch Clone Wars and you'd never seen Cad Bane before in your life, it's like at the end of Mandalorian season 1, where Moff Gideon cuts his way out of that crashed TIE fighter with the Darksaber, and then the next day, IGN and every other like company is like, what was that black? Here's an article that explains what that black lightsaber was at the end of the Mandalorian.
Here's your supplemental reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. If I could tweak this, I would have made Cad Bane like the Pike Enforcer from like the start of the show. And like had him being like more of an overarching bad guy than just showing up at the end.
Artemis raised the point that we didn't really. I mean, it looks like he's dead, but you know he's got the droids that always help him. So like, I don't believe he's actually dead. I think they might have used this as like another like a backdoor way to introduce Cad Bane to the live action universe. Like I'm not convinced he's dead, but if he did die, I mean it's an iconic death at the hands of Boba Fett, right?
Yeah.
So it's still cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool because it was very much a Western showdown sort of scene too, right? And he's elderly. I mean,
I think that's why he's so light. Everyone's like, why isn't he dark blue? I'm like, well, he's an old man. He's
elderly.
the Duros version of going, gray.
In his 80s, right? Like
I looked it up, but Cad Bane at this point is canonically 71.
Okay. So they age like a human being does. So, I mean, like 70, bounty hunting's rough on your body. But I mean, I guess back to tanks. So there's that too. So, I mean, technology. And I mean, I guess, we don't know how long people live in the future. I was sad. I don't want him to have died. He's a cool villain. And I think that they could have used him better.
He really worked in live action too. I thought
Yeah.
he was scary. Like every time he talked, it was like he was growling at you no matter what he was saying.
It's the same voice actor. It's a body double, but it's the same voice actor dubbing the lines.
Oh, no mistake in that voice. It's great.
No, and it was good. And it was good. And he actually was the first time in it that I was scared for Boba Fett. Honestly, that was the first time I'm like, this could go either way.
He
I'm
did
not sure.
outdraw Fett
Yeah.
quite handily.
Like, I'm not sure who's going to make it out of this.
Let's start jumping around some of the notes here, and we'll eventually cover anything. The first one I got was that Drash from the mods. She is actually from Tatooine. Apparently, she grew up a womp hop from here, so she's not just some rich Coruscanti kid who came to hang out and slum it. So she's actually from there, and it does. I mean, let's say what you will about the mods, whether you like them or not. I think they're kind of fun, even though I found their dialogue in this episode really cringy and wooden. But the mods, the characters themselves, they cared about the town. They were stepping up to help.
The concept of their characters is actually really cool. And I think will let them, I mean, I don't want to say everything's written to see what audience they're going to get and who they're going to bring in and stuff, but I think it's good to have kind of something. Let's face it, Star Wars was an old man's game, and that's why they started introducing new parts of the universe so that they can keep that money machine working. But
Thank you.
I think it's good that they have kind of a teen. But I like the mods. I like the concept of the mods too, which the after credit scene. I like the concept of that kind of Blade Runner esque sort of neuromancer kind of side of Star Wars, because we really have been very space western, space opera, and not very sci-fi, honestly. So it kind of gives a little bit of a sci-fi sort of twist to it too, which I like.
That surprise stinger at the end of the episode has given birth to my new fan theory, which supported by Tamura himself. Cobb Vanth is in the back of the tank. Obviously, he survived, so I think he's going to end up running Mos Espa because he's an honorable man as well, and obviously Fett and Fennec are going to. He said it in the episode, we're not suited for this. We did what we set out to do, but this isn't for us. So they're going to find something else to do, be helping with the retaking of Mandalore, which I'm sure they'll have an appearance in. But Tamira said, he said a few funny things about post Fett life. He's like, what'd he say? Captain Rex, that guy looks kind of like me. Oh, Commander Cody, what's that guy up to now? I'm like, yeah, this guy's not going to want for work. But I think it would be cool, and this was Tamira's idea, that if they found out Mace Windu was alive, somehow, and then he hunted him down to avenge Jango, and then the neckbeards would get their bounty hunter story and Fett going across the galaxy trying to find the most dangerous prey there is. Like,
that would be cool. I think he also set that up a little bit too when they said, well, if not us, then who? Kind of thing. So, well, that's who.
I love it, though. Cobb Vanth is great. I love Timothy Olyphant.
I didn't notice if he was wearing underpants in the back to tank.
I didn't look. I'm not going to either.
I wonder if that's like required or.
Well, Fennec said you should go have a soak in the tub, and he said it's in use, and we all thought it was chrysanthemum, right? Because he said
until he
Yoda in
wandered
it.
by with the fruit, and then you're like, oh.
All right, so we've kind of jumped to the absolute end of the episode. I question Boba's tactical ability, because it's like, we're a small force until the whatever arrives, and let's spread our forces out around us to make sure we don't get ambushed. And then we get ambushed anyways. Like, every group of us gets ambushed because...
But the thing with that, right, is it was Fennec and it was him that had this plan, and neither of them command forces at all. Like, they are both,
they both left, really.
Like, neither of them are the people that plan master plans involving multitudes of teams. They just are not. Like, that's... No.
Phoenix and I were talking about this the other day. There was, we loved it, but there was a lot wrong with the whole way that whole street fight, played out. It was ridiculous. But it gave us all, it's like they did it and they didn't give a fuck if it made sense, as long as it gave us all these really cool moments that we freak out. And we did, and there was tons of them. So it's like, I could forgive the bad pacing and choreography of it all.
It was cool to see Scorponok droids again.
Have we seen those before?
I thought we saw them in Clone Wars at some point towards the end.
Some of my Clone Wars I watched literally when it first came out, so it's over 10 years now. So I have to get caught up. They're fucking deadly, though. If I ever have one of those appear in D&D, it's going to be pants shitting time.
Because what do you have to do? Shoot at their fucking feet, because the ground is not. It doesn't bubble under them. It just comes to the ground. I was just, the whole time I'm like, that's not a bubble. Their feet are moving underneath that bubble. You could get through the thing on the force field.
Just plant a mine or use one of Mando's little explosive doohickeys and just chuck it on the ground in front of it and just wait for it to walk right over.
Just knee dart right at the ground.
I'm so getting knee rockets.
Oh man, the knee rockets were really featured in this, but Fett did a real graceful knee kind of rocket kick.
It was great. It was like, It's like,
so somebody on Reddit has pointed out that Din has that knee guard now, and has for a few episodes in The Mandalorian season 2, but we've never seen him use the knee darts or rockets or whatever the heck they are.
Maybe you got to be really good to use them properly, and he's bad at them.
Well, how do you aim with your knee, right?
Well, I know, right? Like I know it's like a last-ditch weapon, but Fett seemed to be pretty spot on with his.
I think it's great because nobody expects knee rockets.
That's an old gadget he's had since the old days too, when you would buy a extra magazine or whatever. But Boba Fett's weaponry, knee darts have been around since when he first.
Well, it's honestly a ridiculous idea if you think about it, but they look cool, and and that's kind of a little bit about what it's all about. But
I can see it as a hidden weapon that nobody notices until it's way too late, because Boba could just be standing 20 feet away from having a standoff or whatever, and they could be doing the eyeball about to draw at each other. Boba could just go psych and just shoot.
And he has to make a Sailor Moon pose.
No, but
And then
there's no reason that Boba couldn't shoot those standing up, right? It's probably honestly, just if you think about it, if they're aligned with your calf, they're obviously easier to aim when you're going down into a one-knee crouch. But if you're just standing there and they're just pointing directly in front of you, if they're explosive enough.
You think if they ever went off accidentally, you just knock you on your face?
Blow your knee off.
They are definitely but let's face it, Star Wars does not really think out the safety of their weaponry anyway.
Well, there's no guardrails anywhere.
Lightsabers? Lightsabers, come on. It's here, train with this. It might cut your arm off. It'll cauterize it, so you're cool.
Let's jump back to earlier in the episode where Grogu arrives in the X-Wing.
Well, I wrote Luke returns to Mos Eisley, and then I crossed out Luke and wrote wait up, and then underneath I wrote hole up.
Yeah, just a child in the car with no seatbelt on, and
it was that's an X-Wing. Who is an X-Wing? And then we were like, is it? And it came down and we're like, well, maybe it's just the guy from the convenience store.
Starting to understand how Luke got all those other kids killed later on.
Right.
I really liked in that scene how Peli Motto was like, officer, I just got my new Republic permit. Please,
as I was filling it out, as you were landing. Sorry.
But we thought we were going to have to chew over the question of what Grogu chose for months, and we didn't. We got it immediately.
I'm really surprised they blew that load. Man, I just keep making euphemisms like that. Anyways, I'm really surprised they played that hand.
Just in case more audio doesn't get into this, I just want to point out Cryus is using load-blowing metaphors repeatedly in this recording.
Hey man, it's Valentine's Day. It's almost Valentine's Day.
Well, today's Desperation Day, according to Barney Stinson.
That's fair.
That's true.
It's also mine and Vinzer's 4.5 year anniversary.
Yeah.
Aww.
4.5 years.
Happy 54 months.
I also had a note here that Pike ruined the Tusken Raiders, and it wasn't the biker gang. They actually pointed that out, and we knew, but then they were like, "Oh, I guess it was the biker gang." And then they were like, when Pike I was like, "Oh yeah, that actually does make more sense. That's what we thought originally. Never mind."
But maybe I'm missing the forest for the trees here, but I don't understand Cad Bane's angle on telling Fett the truth about that. I guess maybe to make him mad and make a mistake. Yeah, get him emotional.
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, it was emotional.
I think it's because he remembers the younger, angrier Fett, maybe, and he thought maybe he could shake him up a little bit.
And see, here's where... Oh, sorry, Courtney, finish.
Well, he would win, he was talking about, he's like, I'm faster than you. And he's like, yeah, that might be so. So he was trying to get him to just do a shootout right there and end it right there and then.
But I have armor.
Yeah, he was just trying to push his buttons. I have knee rockets.
And see, this is where I think they could have done a better job using Cad Bane's character, right? Because if the Pikes had sent Cad Bane to wipe out the Tuskens, then I feel like that scene would have been better, because Cad Bane would have been like, I wiped out the Tuskens, and that would have made Boba Fett that would have riled Boba Fett up a lot, right? As opposed to some nameless Pike enforcer that we don't know or care about.
I just feel like he couldn't have taken out all the Tuskens.
I think he probably... I've seen
really
Cad Bane take on 3 Jedi and not lose.
Cad Bane at the head of a group of enforcers of Pikes, definitely.
That, yes.
Yes.
Cad Bane would just hover like 50 feet up in the air because he has rockets on his boots and just going pew 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 pew.
Which did not get used, and I was a little sad about. The jetpack scene was good, but that was a boot rocket
Did
time, and I
that
was sad.
remind anybody of anything in particular? Like the two Mandalorians jetpacking over a street, shooting down at people. I just felt like we had those rules.
Never.
And it was definitely not Vinzer and Raptor.
Merida just arched her eyebrow knowingly.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, she and
Only
Phoenix
a
are the
few
only
of
ones with
us.
jetpacks.
Yeah, only 2 of us have jetpacks, so.
I don't think Raptor has one. And
Not
Artemis and I
yet.
definitely don't.
No.
I don't need
No,
a jetpack.
those are the upgrades, I think. He's probably adding some in.
You have to, I gotta get, like, actually specialize in it, because right now I just use pilot, and that's.
Yeah, it's worth the skill point getting a no check.
And I mean, also, again, make sure that when you roll a 20 on your grappling hook, that you also roll 20 on your other things and have a plan.
I also used half a page to write, he chose the shirt! But the thing is that, like, that's the line that lives in my head rent-free is when Din realizes that. Like, that's the part that, like, got me more than anything was, like, hearing the emotion in Din's voice where he's like, you got the shirt, they gave you the shirt. Like, he walked away thinking that Grogu was never going to get that.
A lot of heartfelt Din Grogu moments in this one, and they all fucking hit.
I don't know if he thought that he would never get the shirt, but I wasn't sure if he thought he would ever see Grogu again at that point, just based off of what Ahsoka was saying, right? Like, Ahsoka was very much, if you see him right now, it's going to, I don't know, upset's probably not the right word, but, like, throw him off or whatever, right?
Fucking Jedi thing, man. You can't have, like, family. You can't have, like, yeah.
Fucking Skywalker, man. He's like, I'm going to give you a really shitty choice, and if you choose wrong, I'm going to put you in this fucking Greyhound and send you home, and I'm not again with no money. Like,
we're going to kick you out of boarding school.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Figure it. Like, you look at the lifespan of his race, and he can just be like, all right, well, I'm just going to spend, like, the next, 30, 40 years doing this, and then I'll just get back on track, because...
I just have to outlive you, asshole. It won't be hard.
Again, like I said last week, he can still be a Mandalorian and use the Force. Like, there's nothing that precludes that, which then again comes back with the whole Darksaber thing, because I really think that's the way we're gonna go.
And Flynn's full of them.
I think. But I also think that, like, they had to have him. I don't think they could have had him go the Jedi route, because then eventually we are going to have the whole thing where it's this destroyed and people are murdered, and, like, they couldn't explain all that. And plus, if his memories are coming back of when he was doing this before, I would think he wouldn't be keen.
Or he wouldn't need training, because he's just going to remember the training that he already has.
Right? So, I don't know.
It's going to be Cal Kestis all over again.
I don't know. Yeah. I
just finished Fallen Order, like, Friday, so it's real fresh.
I wonder if Ahsoka was around still when Grogu made his choice, and she might have been secretly a little like, yeah, fuck the Jedi Order,
Fuck the Jedi. So I was trying to explain to my friends online who are not quite as deep in as we are, and I hate the fucking Jedi, man. They're like, but the Mandalorians. I'm like, nah.
So I'd like to just take this opportunity for us to have a moment of silence for Rocksteady and Bebop as they were savagely pushed off a cliff.
Those are my words.
I know they are. I'm stealing them.
I named them Rocksteady and Bebop. I'm like, Rocksteady, Bebop.
Yeah, they had to have some losses, and that they were a surprising fan favorite, those two idiots. I like them.
It gets back to my theory that in Disney stuff, a lot of times they don't kill the people with human faces. They will kill the aliens. So,
and they won't kill Puppy.
Yeah, except for that, like, handsome guy, but he was just really handsome, and you knew he was going.
Yeah,
handsome Marshall.
That brings me to a different note on the page here about the scene where Fennec went to wipe out the leadership, which when people started dying, I was like, is Batman attacking these people? Like, but she killed the mayor, Mok Shaiz, and she hanged him, and it was quite brutal. His feet are dangling. Like, for Disney, that was fucking hardcore, man.
Well, the best part is, like, it's like you look at all the people that you're going to kill, and you're thinking, well, this guy has a really long neck. You know what would be good?
I felt a little bad for him by the end. He was terrified. Like I felt a little bad for the hammerhead.
I like kind of how in the betweens he was like, I don't want any damage to the city. I'm like, oh look, he's at least trying to be a decent mayor.
No, he didn't
Um,
want any damage to the city. He didn't care that the people.
I also that was the second time that I wrote I love Ming-Na.
How can you not?
So I love that scene because Ming-Na basically got to be Batman. But like, how many holes in the roof does that house have?
Yeah, it didn't make sense, but I chose to ignore it.
They're getting shot, and I'm like, okay, maybe I don't know. There's a window, which we saw clearly a window, but then the mayor gets hung, and I'm like, I can see the hole in the roof from here. She's not there. Where is that garrote coming from?
Over a pipe. Yeah, that's it. Sure.
It's some pulleys or something. There's a couple things I don't like about this episode, but one of the things I don't like about this episode was the fact that they did the whole, oh my god, all the different teams, overwhelming odds, blah blah blah. Like Chrysanthemum's like covered in Trandoshans, and the mods are pinned down with like no hope of escape, and then it's like LOL Fennec. All of them somehow.
Okay, so the one where she's just like picking off for the mods, that was a very logical use of her. Because I mean, she was like essentially ghosting in a shoot, and then like boom. With Chrysanthemum, maybe a little bit. I like to think she just showed up, and then a lot of them just went, "Oh, no, okay, no, we're out."
I just feel like there's a lot of Trandoshans who do not have arms right now.
Yep, it's arms everywhere, Mos Espa.
Or heads.
It's like it was like
We're
wishbone.
eating with
It was like a
them.
wishbone
Yeah.
day. He just literally was just pulling them apart like Christmas crackers.
Raptor made a good point that when Chrysanthemum knocked that Trando into the air and then shot him, that was you've rolled a 20. How do you want to kill this guy? That was exactly the D&D moment right there.
Yes, that was it. You're like, oh, I can kill him however I want to.
He ain't getting
Let me
back up.
tell you.
One thing I did like was all the other families turning on Boba Fett, because it honestly makes perfect sense, right? Boba's the new guy. Like, sure, he killed Bib, but there's no indication that the other three families liked Bib at all or tolerated Bib.
I'm pretty sure
Like-
heart disease was going to kill Bib soon enough.
Probably, or an STD. And as we established in the flashback scenes, the Pikes had clearly been on Tatooine for a while, and they even Fennec even says that the spice trade is part of Jabba's like income, right, or was part of
Money.
Jabba's income. So, as the new guy in town seeking to shake things up, to me it makes complete sense that the other three families would have turned on him. And I'm a
See?
little upset
Yep.
he didn't expect that.
I don't think it's a matter that they turned on him. I think that they went into that already on the side of the Pikes
Oh, probably.
and
I have no doubt.
were like planted, like we're passing information back and forth. I don't think they were ever like being neutral. I don't think that was.
I actually liked that exposition scene where they were talking a lot. I like how they did it because they kind of did like a lot of the action stuff out of the way and a lot of the setup while they were talking about it.
I made a comment on the exposition Ming-Na was doing as Fennec, but because it was Ming-Na explaining it, I didn't mind it. You just got to get the right person to do the exposition, I guess.
It's true.
And there was a really, really good shot of Bane with the sun behind him. I just wanted to point that out. That was a really, really nice Western shot.
So, can we skip right from Western to King Kong?
Yes.
The Rancor appearing.
Yes.
Okay, before we get there, my only thing with the big Scorponok droid was that everybody's like, oh, there's shields, and pew pew at their shields, and it does nothing, and then the shields go down, and they're just like, nope, not going to shoot it.
Those droids were the worst shots I've ever seen. They played out entire emotional scenes in between these things shooting at them.
And
Like-
they're all running down the street in a straight line.
Phoenix said that when we rewatched it, and he's like, go down some alleys.
Honestly, like, who programmed that? Somebody who learned how to like shoot at stormtrooper school? Like, what?
Like,
It's like I only know how to make it go straight.
they're badass droids. Like, they've killed, like, I'm looking at their Wikipedia page. They killed tons of clones all over like, a battalion would need to be take down one of those. And they can't hit humanoids on foot running in a straight line. And like you can clearly see when they're running down the street, they're shooting like 10 feet behind them all the time. And I'm like, they're not running that fast. This is for drama. This isn't for. I just feel like they could have executed that a little bit differently.
I enjoyed where they're pinned down, and Fett's like to Din, I imagine you'll leave now, and Din's like, nope, I'm with you till you fall, kind of thing. And I was like, oh man, for honor. But then it almost looked like Boba was gonna negotiate. He's like, all right, I'll put my terms down on how much I'll pay. And I think I went like, yeah, okay. And dipshit goes out and reads it
without reading it
first.
That was. I saw that a mile away. I'm like, he's literally ready to go fuck yourself on that pad right now.
I also have a note here that says nope, and then it's an arrow up, and it just says Jeff.
Jeff?
Or Jeff. Fett maybe? Yeah, Fett. Okay,
Oh,
sorry.
Jeff Fett.
My letters.
Listen, I thought
Yeah, that's
X-Wing
because-
said X-Men. I was like, Grogu in X-Men. Oh, okay.
All right, I'll watch it.
I also had a note that said she's the public, and I think it's like Pelly, because she says a lot of stuff that seems to be what fans would say. Like she's the voice of us.
No, well, I'm not
She's-
calling you Grogu. I'm not.
That was so on the nose. That was so on the nose. She is definitely the audience insert character.
Yeah.
She's the Mary Sue.
No wonder she's crazy is the next sentence I had directly underneath of that.
True.
Just gonna gesture generally at the
Sure,
public right now.
Blaster blunderbuss or whatever the hell she had going on there.
Phoenix and I said through that fight was like, doesn't anybody have a fucking ion cannon? And Pelly's gun looked like a Jawa ion cannon, but it didn't shoot like one. And I was like, where's the ion cannons? Come on.
It's the how can we get in? You know what we need? Something stronger than Kersantin. That's what we need.
I thought he was going to
Yeah.
punch those fucking things apart when he got through.
Like, what do we
Got
have
robbed.
that's stronger?
Here's
that I can
Puppy.
ride?
It's literally what I wrote when
That I
Puppy
can
showed up.
ride.
The only consistent finale prediction that we all got right, I think, was that Rancor. And he did. He bit someone's head off.
My prediction that I hoped they had a little heart-to-heart aside between Din and Bobo. I got that too. I was very excited.
Grogu and the Rancor are going to have play dates now because clearly they're buddies. And what is the Rancor if not a Grogu by a different form? it's like Boba's little
Well,
Grogu.
then they don't. The little nap.
Also,
Oh, the
The
snuggling.
little nap.
Oh.
The snuggle
Also-
is good.
today I learned, or not today, but like that day I learned, that was a baby Rancor. Apparently they get bigger, and I didn't remember that.
Yes, much bigger. It was so funny when they Rancor is like, oh, apparently they don't like fire. Shit, it'd have been good to know that. And I'm storing that away for future reference, just in case. But
How about when it tried to bite Din's head off and it just wasn't happening?
it's like,
The helmet. It's like, nope, not
it's
happening.
like Beskar.
I would be scared shitless.
You know what that scene needed was a Bruce Campbell type voice, like, "Oh, for Christ's sakes!" As he's breath smells terrible.
I
You know
was
what?
really sad that there wasn't like some like more people in his hands, like when he was on the building. I was like, come on, give me like a Fey Ray. Give me
Yeah.
something. Give me someone. But it was still pretty good. It was good.
So one, I was like, he also could have gone back and gotten Slave 1, and
I thought that's what he was gonna do, then I was like, wait, yeah, we have.
it had to be the Rancor. Like there was no.
Well, I think Slave 1 would have made more sense, but I feel like that would have just destroyed the town more. But then that's what I thought at first. But I'm like, this Rancor is fucking destroying everything. Maybe he should have got the ship.
I think maybe it
The
would have been a little
fires.
more strategic.
Would have made less damage if
Yeah.
he crashed the fucking thing. I know that once the shooting started in this episode, and let me tell you that jetpack scene, I nearly had a sexual awakening. I was like, this is the closest I'm ever gonna get to Vinzer and Raptor fighting on camera. But once the shooting started, it never stopped. It just went full on right to the fucking end.
Boba and Din by themselves was great. It's got worse when others started to show up.
I liked how they watched each other's backs. Like they fought as a team really well, and they really looked out for each other. I really like that. Those two are now closer than ever. So this is a great setup for Mando season 3. And Boba's like, I don't want to be the man anymore. It's fucking boring. I'm gonna help you. Like, he's gonna need the action. I'm telling you.
I think that's it. Both of them need family, right? Like I think is kind of what it comes down to too. It's like he has weird cult family, and Boba has like
Boba and Din are kind of family, not clan, I guess, but they're like a family by choice through battle now.
Well,
You know,
they're practically Flynn's. They're like they're family by brotherhood, not by
that's how
blood.
it works.
Joe.
Well, that, and it's like you've got Din, who's kind of that outcast character from the conservative family, right? So he's
Yeah.
he
True.
does
Mom
have
kicked
that
him out.
interesting perspective because she didn't agree with the fact that he allowed people to see his face or baby alien.
You know, they didn't use Omega at all for this. I think that remains another viable option for a season 2 story, is to bring her and Hunter and stuff like that in.
I was honestly surprised after her creation for Bad Batch that she didn't show up in this somehow. Like they had to have met by now. It's been 30 years in universe.
You never know. I feel like we're going to get resolution to that at some point, though.
I mean, it
really
does
do.
depend what happened with her storyline in that 30 years too, right? Like what's she doing? Would it have made sense for her?
I have the sentence here. I guess he wrangled his rancorn. It's a little bit of a callback.
He sure did. It was pretty iconic, Fett roaming around on that fucking thing, smashing shit up. I loved it. It made a great image.
I enjoy that Din was not accepted into a replacement rider for the Rancorn. He was like, nope.
You are not my daddy. You are not my daddy. No.
I have also bowing and shooting, so it's better when they were walking down the street towards the end. He's like, why do they always have to bow? And she's like, well, better shooting at you.
Peace in Mos Espa.
We got our money shot.
Which one? There's like 100 money shots.
Well, the one with Grogu, like with his little dome.
Yes.
We got the money shot of him in
Yes.
his little dome.
Tap, tap, tap.
Do again. Tip, 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 dead. Tip, tip, dead, dead. Tip, 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 dead.
Yeah, but we didn't think we'd see him in that dome or the shirt question. We were prepared to wait till next Christmas for that, and nope. Thank you, Favreau and Filoni.
We did predict how it was going to play out, that it was going to kind of be very much Western town, and that the townspeople were all going to come back to help because he was an honorable man. So it was, that whole thing was going to, so it had to play out that way. I just didn't think that they would carry any of the Grogu stuff through to this plot. I partly didn't want them to, because I was really worried that it was going to be like Grogu fixes everything, and I didn't want that.
That essentially they gave us everything that we wanted and more because we've just had a really, really rough pandemic and maybe they wanted to do something nice for us.
I'll take it.
Or they're not going to give us anything we want next season at all. Nothing.
Fans are never happy. We didn't get enough. We got too much.
We have yet to discuss the topic that the internet is ablaze about, and that is that mod doing that weird spinning shot.
There's been several remixes.
And that, like any friggin' like action movie you watch, there are unnecessary spins, rolls, and like flips. Like, come on. Like, that's just...
Hashtag superhero landing.
I was fine with that. It was ridiculous. It did nothing to help his aim. But he was also like a 17-year-old kid with a gun.
Internet complaint was people criticizing jetpack combat tactics. And while I will grant you that flying into the middle of the street is, putting yourself in the line of fire, but these guys were outlining all these tactics, and I'm like, how many jetpacks have you flown, sir? Like, who cares? Shut up.
Because, I mean, their reasoning was right? Like, if they tried to hole up in the bar, you're just going to get pinned in the bar, right? Like,
Yeah, that actually made sense. And the fact that if they held up at Boba's, though, but see, if they held up at Boba's, that wouldn't have been better, because that would have been while they were going. And we already know that there are apparently gaping holes in tunnels in that
They would have
place.
boxed Boba into his house and taken Mos Espa no problem, so they knew they couldn't go back to the palace, even though it was better.
Yeah, no, they were right in where they went because, I mean, at least they had some shelter and some.
You figured Din was like, oh, for fuck's sakes, I'm trapped in another bar with impossible odds. How does this keep happening to me? He's like fucking Die Hard all over again.
I noticed something today that we didn't bring up last week about Freetown. So we saw the Sandcrawler with the Crate Dragon skull mounted on the front. But what I don't think we caught, because I saw a screenshot of it today, was that the Crate Dragon rib cage is now the inside of that bar.
I did notice that. Yeah, that's cool.
Hurrah for reusing animal materials.
It's good that they're like using the whole animal. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
On the same day that I think Fett wrapped up, they put out the promotional poster for Kenobi, which of course we're going to cover. And it got me thinking, fans, some of the, like the clickbait angry neckbeard fans, they're so already sick of Tatooine, right? And they feel like that's going to be a thing.
Yeah. We're about to get another series set on
But
Tatooine.
here's the thing, like, we love Ewan McGregor, we love Hayden Christensen who's going to be in it, but the thing is, we never really get what we expect. We certainly didn't with Boba Fett. He's a good man, and we weren't expecting that. We're not going to get what we think out of Obi-Wan either. Like, I honestly think he's going to have moments where the isolation is cracking him up, and I think Anakin's, all that's just going to be in his head. Maybe flashbacks.
I think so too.
But I think he's going to go a little nuts, and we're going to see a very different Obi-Wan, and of course, the fans are going to be like, this is bullshit. This isn't what he'd be like. And I'm like, you know what? This writing that you don't expect, this is how things grow.
So if they could guest star Liam Neeson in an episode or two, that would be pretty cool. Even in like a Force Ghosty disembodied voice.
Yeah, I would take that. And I mean, Obi-Wan, that might be how he learns to dissipate into the Force on his death, and how he knew the whole, if you strike me down, I'll become more powerful. So he knew what was coming.
That's my assumption, right? Because that's kind of what they were. He and Yoda both were like, gotta learn how to Force Ghost now.
Well, and he's isolated and stuff too, so it kind of makes sense if you're talking to ghosts. It's kind of going to be, you're alone in the desert watching a 12-year-old kid.
The clan should probably have a funeral for poor Alkir's brother-in-law.
I guess he's safe in the future campaigns. I still got a few years of campaign time. I can chase him around with campaign.
Oh man, can you imagine Clan Flynn meeting some of the children of the Watch and be like, "Who the fuck are you?"
That's how they'll introduce the Flynns. Roll up in one of those big speeders, and just a cloud of smoke pours out, and everyone gets out. Bottles roll out onto the streets. And I was like, "What's up, motherfuckers?" Oh God! Have you ever taken your helmet off? Fuck off! Okay, I'm recording this part on Valentine's Day, which I maintain is horseshit, but it's an easy segue into a quick true story. The year is 2017, and both Raina and I are single. We're both sort of taking the time to work on ourselves after some challenging times in our lives. I've mentioned this period of my life before, a time where the mental health was as dark as it gets. But over time, I was healing from things of the past, and I was becoming ready to venture back out of my mental hideaway. Merida, who has been and remains one of the most trusted advisors I've ever had plans. Plans to maneuver a certain dashing Mandalorian captain towards a smart, beautiful, and amazing person. Little did I know, quite independently, that Artemis had the same idea and was plotting towards the end of seeing Raina and Vinzer together. I heard that once at one of Juice's get-togethers in the before times. Apparently I was telling a story or something and being particularly affable and charming, and Artemis said to some people, "Why doesn't he have a girlfriend?" Which is such a nice compliment, so thanks for that, Artemis. Anyway, the two of them had a conspiracy, and we were being subtly nudged towards each other for a while. But both Rain and I were interested, and importantly, we were both ready to try something like that. We had a date out here in the Eastern Passage, where I now live, although we didn't call it a date, until her mom called over the phone and said loud enough for me to hear, "Well, enjoy your date." But that gave me the chance to risk it all by saying I did want this to be a date, and imagine my delight when she wanted it to be too. I'll take pity on you, poor listener, and wrap this up by saying I kissed the girl, and almost 5 years later, there's never been any doubt in my mind that she's the one. So I love you, Raina, and thanks, Artemis and Merida, for plotting behind my back. That's all for today. We'll be back soon with new fun stuff to talk about. The Buffy and Clone Wars big rewatch is imminent, I think. Till next time, be excellent to each other. This is Vinzer Flinn, keeper of the secrets of Castle Grayskull, signing off.